With the recent government's announcement on ABSD increase, one might wonder if there are ways legally to avoid ABSD. In this video, I'm going to discuss how locals and foreigners can avoid ABSD without going to jail. Let's start with the juicy part first. You might ask, well, how can foreigners avoid paying ABSD? Aren't they subjected to 60% based on the recent ruling? Well, in general, yes, but there are exceptions. If you go to the IRS website, they indicate that there are foreigners eligible for ABSD remissions under the free trade agreements. This means that the citizens or PRs of certain countries will be accorded the same stamp duty treatment as if they are Singaporeans. Those special countries are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, and the United States. Note that for the United States, you have to be their citizen and not just PR to receive ABSD remission from Singapore. For the ultra-rich, if they don't want to wait to get PR or citizenship from the above countries, they can apply for Singapore PR via the Global Investor Program. They would need to invest at least $10 million in Singapore, but they will be able to get Singapore PR status faster. I mean, 5% ABSD already sounds a lot better than 60%, right? Another way foreigners can be eligible for ABSD remission is if they are married to a Singaporean. If the couple includes a Singapore citizen and they do not own any residential property, then they can ask for ABSD remission. For second residential property, they can still get ABSD remission as long as they sold the previous property within 6 months. Another way for foreigners to avoid paying ABSD is if they purchase a commercial property instead of a residential property. This includes warehouses, hotels, shopping malls, shop houses, etc. Shop houses in particular are getting a lot of attention because most shop houses are allowed to have residential quarters on the second floor, which means that you can also live there. Although shop houses are generally more expensive than a condo unit, at least it's not as expensive as buying a warehouse, of course. Okay, let's move on to the locals. So how can Singaporeans avoid paying ABSD legally? Well, one way is to buy a commercial property, as that path is open for everyone, whether you are Singaporeans or foreigners. But another strategy that you can do is to perform decoupling. Decoupling is when one spouse transfers their share of the property to the other spouse so they can buy a second property under their own name. As one spouse no longer has properties under their name, they do not have to pay ABSD to purchase the second property. Note that transferring your property share is not free. Your spouse will still need to pay the buyer's stamp duty based on the transacted shares, and usually a couple that already foresees that they will buy a second property in the future can also arrange so their tenancy in common is structured at 99:1 instead of 50-50 to make the share transfer cheaper. Interestingly, although you only own 1% of the property, you will still be able to fully access your CPF and get a mortgage loan. Unfortunately, some people abuse the 99:1 method and made it an ABSD loophole. You can click link in the description down below to watch my other video about this. The legal fee to arrange the property transfer is roughly around $6,000 depending on which law firm, and if you are selling the property within the first 3 years of buying, you will also have to pay for seller's stamp duty, so it's better to wait after 3 years. When decoupling, you need to calculate whether each spouse can handle the mortgage as sole owner. If you're using your CPF, you will need to return your CPF monies, including accrued interest, to your CPF account. Since 2016, you can no longer decouple HDB because basically there are too many couples doing it and dodge ABSD for their next property purchase. So right now, decoupling can only be done for private property. Transfer of ownership of an HDB flat is only allowed for divorce, marriage, medical reasons, death of an owner, financial hardship, and renunciation of Singapore citizenship. The next strategy that you can do is to buy dual key units. With dual key units, you're essentially buying a home with 2 units side by side, but for the price of 1. As it is considered as one property, you avoid incurring ABSD for your second property. Usually, the main unit and subunit share a common foyer but have their own living spaces, kitchen, and toilet. Because of this unique layout, dual key unit is suitable if you want to rent out the other unit and maintain your privacy. However, please note that dual key units are typically more expensive in terms of price per square footage. Okay, the next strategy only applies if you and your spouse haven't bought a flat yet. Most people thought that in order to buy an HDB, you have to list both husband and wife as the owners. But actually no. If you have enough stable income and CPF from just one person, you can just list one name as the owner and the other spouse becomes the occupier. After the MOP is finished, then the spouse who is designated to be only an occupier can go out and buy a condo under their own name without paying any ABSD because it will be considered their first property. The next strategy to avoid ABSD is instead of buying a condo, you can buy a neo-executive condo. You will need to dispose your home within 6 months after collecting the keys to your EC or once your EC receives its temporary occupation permit, but at least you don't have to fork out the huge ABSD fee at the start and apply for a remission. The next strategy is to buy under your child's name if they are already above the age of 21 and you have a lot of cash. Assuming your child is a Singaporean, they do not have to pay ABSD if you buy them a private condo, but there are consequences with this approach. If your child is unable to qualify for a mortgage loan because they don't have sufficient income, for example, then you will have to pay it out of pocket. Another issue is if your child would like to apply for a BTO flat with their spouse, then they would need to dispose their private property at least 30 months before their application. The next challenge would be there's no way for you to control what your child does with the house. As your child legally owns the property, they can sell it, use it as a collateral for a loan, or even kick you out of it if they want to. This can result in some ugly family disputes, some which end up in court. Before ending this video, I would like to add that if you have any questions or hesitations, please consult with the respective government bodies or a reputable lawyer. Please do not blindly trust your property agent or some random YouTuber such as myself. If there's anything that we can learn from the 99 to 1 ABSD loophole rate is that when something looks too good to be true, it's better to double check its validity. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye.